Welcome to the Hope Unlocked podcast. I'm Kristen Kurtz, your host. I pray this episode is like a holy IV of hope for your soul. And I am so excited to have my friend Anna here today to share with us her hope story. And I know that you are going to be filled so overflowing with hope as you listen in today. So, Anna, can you tell us a little bit about you? And I know we met in kind of a crazy way, but I know that God has just amazing ways to connect people, and I am just so thankful for you. So share a little bit more about yourself with the audience.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me on here. It is a joy to be here, and thank you so much. I know it's amazing how the Lord just like brings us people together in cool ways. Yeah, so my name is Anna. I am a mom of 5. I have an older daughter and 4 boys, wild and crazy boys. I've been married to my husband for 13 years, almost going on 14 years, and just super passionate about the Lord and what He wants to continue to do in our lives, and in my life and in my marriage. So, yeah.
Very good. Well, how did you come to know the Lord? What was it like for you growing up? Did you grow up in a house where you went to church, where your family was believers? Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so I was saved at 5. I honestly don't remember it, but it's funny because my dad and I'm a pastor's kid. They call them PKs, but I was always in and out of in church and just around that environment, and it was good and it was hard, and a lot of times I didn't want to go to Sunday school because I felt like I got more out of this sermon, and I've always had a heart for the Lord, and I know that He puts those desires in our hearts specifically, and so I cannot I desire to be desire more the Lord more, but I'm so at 5 I didn't really remember about my salvation, but throughout my years I just clung to Him. And around my 20s I hit this spot of just my whole world just kind of caved in, and that was like the turning point where it's like, okay, Lord, it's either you or nothing at all. And it still has relationship with the Lord. Is sometimes it's up and down, like struggles and things, but I know that there's no other way. Literally, there's no other way. But Jesus. So
yeah. You said something that was really pivotal, like there's no other way. I've often in recent times, the last 5 months have been crushing in many ways, and I've just been remembering, like, there's no turning back, like there's no U-turns, like we can't go back to what was, at least for me, prior to being saved at 25. And on this journey with Him, I would love for you to maybe share some of the keys of breakthrough that you've picked up along the way on your journey to stay in hope through some really hard times, because I know that we're not immune from it, and I'm walking through some stuff right now even. And I'll share honestly, like, I wasn't even sure if this podcast was going to even be recorded today because of some of the things that are happening. And this sweet sister reminded me that we got to push through, right? Especially when there's a message that He has for the body. And I believe that she has a message for us today. So I'm going to let you just let that oil flow.
Thank you, girl. Oh, crying. Yeah, trials are not easy.
Yeah.
And you have this relationship with the Lord, and you have this image and this picture of like, okay, I can do this. And then you're faced with it and you're like, holy cow.
Yeah.
He called me, it's interesting because he called me to do a reading of Job. And like, whenever people talk about, oh wow, reading Job, oh, just all their little comments about that. But like I felt this passion and this desire to finish Job, like within like the day. And I didn't make it within the day, but I made it within 24 hours of reading it. And the thing that I got out of it is that Job, no matter, like he lost everything. He lost everything. Like all the glory, all the favor, all the provision that God gave him, and that is a test of the Lord, like a testimony and favor to show others of God's provision. And he was completely stripped of that. And so as man, you're like, you question it. It's like, well, where's my favor now? Where's all my provision now? Where's my, what do I have now to cling on to?
Yeah.
But then Job, he said, he gave honor and glory back to Yah. And he also like, he had that fear of the Lord that honestly this world is actually missing. It's like we have lost the fear of the Lord. And I have to question myself. It's like, do I fear the Lord meaning not like the enemy puts fear in us, but do we reverence? Do we give him glory? Do we give him praise? Do we look upon him and say, wow, I could be, for lack of a better word, killed right now.
Yeah.
Like that's, but he's slow to anger and abounding love. His mercies are new every day. His graces abound. And so what I got out of it is like, Job knew what the Lord did for him. And then he knew and grew in what he's doing in what he didn't have. And so it's interesting to me is like, do we, and I put myself in this position, do I grumble and complain, and do I gossip or whatever when I don't have that provision? Or do I even second guess myself? Am I in the right place? Or do I, or does the Lord hear me? Or am I still favored by the Lord? Am I still on the right path? Or do I say, Lord, you are still good. You are still good. Like you provided in this moment, in this time, in this season, in this place, you have abundantly provided for me in that season. And you are still good in this season. Like you are still good in this season.
Yeah.
Like, I'm even like, I still have to do that. Like I still get to do that. I'm still checked by the Lord. And I'm not on it. I am not on that road yet perfectly, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
And so, faithful endurance, the faithful endurance, and the thing that's one of the things that the Lord's bringing to my mind, and then also it's like in all that I do and all that I say with my husband or my children or wake up or anything like that, it's like am I seeking first the kingdom of God? And I found 3 words in that.
Mm-hmm.
See the king, seeking first the king.
Mm.
Kingdom. Sorry, I'm like,
Yeah.
and so the Lord pulled out those 3 words, see the king.
Mm. Wow. Wow.
And yeah, like we're seeking after him,
Mm.
what he has for us, whatever that is. Not only what he has for us, but what he wants like to say to us,
Mm-hmm.
or how he feels about this, or whatever. But
Mm.
um
Yeah. Wow. That's a whole word right there. See the king. Like,
mhm.
when we have circumstances that can be hopeless, right? They look hopeless. And,
Yeah.
in all honesty, some of the things that I'm walking through right now, they literally in the natural look very hopeless.
Mhm.
But to see
Yeah.
the king and to refocus and to turn our eyes up, right? To stop
Mhm.
looking around and get stuck in the swirl of the circumstances.
Yeah.
I love that you shared that because, I'm a wordsmith, so I love seeing words within
Yeah.
words. So that is so powerful. That's a whole word right there just to hang on to. That's a key for us today. It's a key for me today, for sure. And I know it's definitely going to bless somebody else out there as well. It's interesting you brought up Job because Job was actually my my man back when I got saved. Immediately after I was saved at 25, I had 2 miscarriages, and I don't believe anybody would have told me to go read Job after losing 2 babies right after being saved. It's a heavy chapter, heavy book,
Mhm.
um, for a new believer, I believe. At least for me, it was. But God knew. He knew I needed that because I saw Job as one who persevered and was an overcomer, and through it all kept going. He didn't give up. He didn't look at God as um, like the other, his quote unquote friends. They were like,
Yeah.
"Oh, you must have XYZ to be experiencing this." And even despite his wife coming after him in, in words,
Yeah.
he still stood firm. And that was like my trajectory almost 20 years ago to keep going. Honestly, I believe that that's why I keep going.
Mhm.
Um, and even today, I don't know if you've heard this before, but I was listening to somebody actually talk about Job this morning, and he actually said that there was a double restoration in chapter 1, listing off how many you know animals he had, right, and with numbers. And
Mhm.
then you get to chapter
Mhm.
42, I believe, and it was showing the actual double of that.
Yeah.
And he actually was wondering, like, and he theologians have even wondered, like, if there was a double restoration, if he lost all of his children, then were his children raised from the dead? Because there would have been double, right? 0 times 2
Wow.
is not how. Did he have 10 children, I believe?
I think so, yeah.
It was
I
a
don't
whole
remember.
revelation for me. So
Yeah.
it's very interesting that you're bringing up Job today. So I just wanted to share that as well because I need to go do a little digging on that whole word too. I'm like, wow, I thought he lost all of his children, and
Mhm.
you know, anywho, I'll let you keep going.
No, that's so good. And it's interesting because you're talking about faithful endurance and the perseverance, like
Mhm.
perseverance. And
Mhm.
so I've been married for 13 years, and I looked, and almost going on 14, but I looked up the number 13,
Mhm.
and it says adding to 12 or rebellion.
Mhm.
Girlfriend, like I I I went into my marriage thinking, I I'm good.
Mhm.
I'm gonna be a great wife. I'm gonna, I have all these things, and I didn't realize this until later. And
Mhm.
but doesn't mean that my husband was. I mean, he, he was a tough man. He was not gentle. He was not compassionate. He did not do what the Bible said.
Mm-hmm.
Like if we're gonna point fingers, and then he said the number 14. Go look into the number 14. So it says the 14 meaning the 7 double Passover. So it's interesting because we're next month is going to be Pasach, which is Passover, Hebrew Passover, and the Lord came to my mind, he brought this to my mind. He's like, this month you need to shed yourself from all rebellion, anything that is of flesh. Shed those things. And it leads. We don't celebrate our anniversary, the 14th anniversary, till a little while, but it's like shed all those things, the things of flesh, this flesh. But going back is like marriage was really tough. Like I went in. He was deployed a year, and he came back, and it just was not a man that I knew. That God had designed him, and every time he would do something, I'm like, who are you? Like, yuck. Like, and the Lord kept on saying, he's like, you see what I see in him, but he's in his flesh right now. And so so for 13 years there have been moments where I've like wanted to leave. And I think that you and I were talking in one of the hardest seasons, and I have not been a hard like a good wife sometimes, but it was a hard season when a couple seasons ago, or a couple years ago, and I literally was like at my wit's end. I actually sold my wedding ring because I didn't have any money. And I was like, it was at that point where it's like, it's either you or me. And so came to that road, and then it kind of healed a little bit. And then last year, well, actually about 6 months ago, there was a huge moment where it's like, again, it's like either you or me. And we finally decided to go. He chose that he's like, we've got to do therapy. So we decided to do therapy, and I was like, and I'm a hope person. Like for 13 years, like I'm a hope person. Like, and I think you've been married longer than I have. So like, faithful endurance.
Yes.
And I told the therapist, I said, I don't know if this is going to work. And so, but things began to heal, and things began to change and shift. And I've seen things change and shift before, and I'm like, nah, this will go back. And I'm not, because I've been disappointed so many times.
Yeah.
My heart was turned off. My heart became walls and walls and walls. And then when he started getting better, I became very prideful. And I realized I was becoming a better person. A person that I did not recognize, I did not know. And the Lord gave me 2 visions. I saw myself as a bitter old woman, a crotchety old woman, like, one that's old and just nitpicks at everything and just never satisfied and is hunched over and just lost her joy and lost her love, like and she just lost. And then he gave me another image of this woman, and she was joyful, full of love, and her children adored her and desired to be around her, and she, she's just full of joy and love and forgiveness, and just, you could, and her hair is long, and she stood upright, and um she was just filled with Jesus, just compassion, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. No way. And I had to face the bitterness that I had allowed my heart to have and to hold on to, and I had begged the Lord for so long. I'm like, what does it mean to forgive? What is it? What is it? What is it? And then that moment, it was like I woke up one day of the prayers of continuous endurance, like asking, Lord, I don't want to be like this. I want to love and to know how to forgive and to release this all to you. And he's slowly working on that. And so just knowing that, like, the fear of the Lord, the honor and the reverence and the love and the compassion that he has for us, showing us those things, and knowing that I don't want to be that person, but I could potentially do that if I choose to not forgive, if I choose to let go, and to allow, Lord, I rebuke all the words that, like, in my mind, that I am like speaking native over myself. Like I had to continue, and I do that sometimes, but like I had to continue to lay down myself and to rebuke those things that were clouding my and creating negativity and in my world. But yeah, so it's not perfect, but the Lord is definitely doing a new thing. And it's interesting because the verse that I tether around, and he often, when he pushes us into new things, or we're coming up to that moment where he's brought us into, instantly he says, I am doing a new thing, do you not perceive it? Isaiah 43:19, and this is what the one of the translations says, see, I am. And I'm a word girl, like I am. So that's a promise. So this is what I'm doing. He's like, this is what I'm doing. So I'm gonna speak this over to you, girl. Kristin, he says, I am doing what is new. Let it now spring forth. Kristin, do you not see it? I am even making a way in the wilderness and the rivers in the desert. And I'm going to continue this now in verse 20, because it just shows the faithfulness of what he does in the desert. The beast of the field esteems me, the jackals and the ostriches, because I have given waters in the wilderness and the rivers and the deserts to give drink to my people, to my Kristin, to my chosen. This people I have formed for myself. Let them relent my praise.
Wow, girl. You got me now.
It's so good.
Yeah. That's one of my verses as well. And, this season is voices of hope from the valley, right? So many of us have been walking through a lot, right? And what he showed me is we have to keep going through to get to that breakthrough. And even as you said, perceive, per is the beginning of persevere, and see, that's coming again, that see it, like look beyond, like the desert landscape can look very treacherous, right? It looks parched and dry, and we have to really look for those, for the water, right? We're thirsty for him.
Yeah.
And what a powerful word. I mean, just we're taking the word and you're bringing power to it through speaking it out and even injecting my name. Like, so I would
Yeah.
just encourage those of you who are listening to do that, to take your name and put yourself in there, speak it out.
Yeah.
Um, I know for me personally, and I don't know if this is for you as well, if this happens, but when the swirl comes, maybe it feels like a tumbleweed, right? In the desert. You're like, why is there so many things just coming all at once, right? And that's where I think this is one thing that I've learned in my walk. We can feel like this is when I need to isolate. Like I can't
Yeah.
tell people what's going on because that would mean that I am XYZ, kind of going back to Job's friends, right?
Yeah.
But to have people, because I so believe in the power of community and having connections that will not judge you when you're walking through the fire, right? And if
Mm.
this podcast is like that voice for you, like that would be absolutely, like, I believe that's part of his heart. Even though we're miles away, I feel like there is a connection that's happening here, even if, we're not best friends, right? Like whoever is
Yeah.
listening to this today. But to have people in your corner, having one person, just one person, you don't need 5,000 friends, right? But to be that person for somebody and to have that person for you to remind you of your, but God said, like today, we had this plan today, but there's things coming against me, like in such a massive way, to like try to sideswipe me. And to have that friend who's like, no, I really believe that this is what we're to do today. Right. And you can take that into different context where, like for myself, my husband and I we're actually going to be 3 times 7. So on April Fool's Day, we will be 21 years married and 27 years together in May. And, I was saved a year after we got married, and it's been hard. It's been hard. And these last 5 months have probably been one of the most challenging, compressed times I've experienced in my walk. So I just want to encourage you, anybody who's listening today, to have those people that you can be safe to share where you're at and have no shame with, because we need each other in the body. And yeah, I'm just going to leave that. So, uh, so as you're on your journey right now, how are you seeing him in all the details? Even as you're maybe walking through some valley moments, what are some of the like gold nuggets that you might be able to share? In relation to Isaiah 43, the verse that you shared with us.
Whew. Gold nuggets. I feel like wow. Oh my goodness. Faithful endurance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, Faithful endurance, just enduring past, like looking, like we were talking earlier, like looking above
Mm-hmm.
the circumstances, because again, we don't wrestle against flesh and blood. Like
Mm-hmm.
if we think about it, all our little, all our little things that we're annoyed about our husbands, or they're just manifesting what the enemy wants them to do. And
Mm-hmm.
so one of the things that the Lord has shown me to do is like release the opposite, release his identity,
Mm-hmm.
release who he is and what the Lord has said over him. And, or if you're struggling with a friend or an argument or whatever, or like we had a disagreement, it's like, Lord, how do you want me to see, and how do you want me to release your peace or your prosperity or your joy in them? And to love them in a way that is beyond what you can see. Because what Jesus said, he's like, I love the heart, not what man does, the actions, because the man looks out on the outward appearance, but he says, I look inside. And so, because the inside is hidden. And so, but to love like the Lord does, to love the Lord, to love them like the Lord does. So,
yeah, it's really powerful. Wow. So as you were talking, is there a word that he's given you over this year to cling to? Whether it's a verse or, a lot of people do their word of the year. I started asking him for a word back in 2018. What does that look like for you for this year?
Full circle.
Yeah.
So full circle. I've been noticing that whatever I pray the year before, it happens the next year. So full circle. That's what I've been.
Full circle. Wow.
Yeah.
Love it. I feel like I just read a book about that yesterday. Yeah. Right? Yeah. I love that boomerang visual.
Totally. But yeah.
So good. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything you shared. I know that this is going to unlock many women out there. And as a reminder of what this, just even a phrase over the podcast that the Lord showed me is that brave voices set others free. And I love your brave. I love the ways that you are continuing on this journey as he's showing you that it was just a brave, courageous spirit, and one who's also encouraging and exhorting people along the way. So as I like to say, keep going. It's like my favorite phrase. I'm going to preach. I'm boomeranging that back to myself today. And I'm just going to leave us with the anchoring verse over the podcast. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing, so that by the power of the Holy Spirit, you may abound in hope. I love that word, abound. Romans 15:13. So thank you so much for being with us today. I'm going to link all of Anna's contact info, her bio, all the goodness in the show notes. So thank you again, Anna, for being with us. I hope you have a blessed day.
You too.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.